Good morning, team, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. I got my espresso and I'm ready to go. Um, I have some news I want to share with you guys, but I was told I can't share it yet, so I'm that guy right now. It has to do with the um, end of the school year and how it's going to go. They're still figuring that stuff out. So as soon as they give me a definitive answer, I'm going to keep you guys up to date. You know, I love to keep you guys up to date. I'm going to keep doing that. Um, I want you guys on the same page as I am. So just keep your heads up um, and keep working for me, guys. You're doing awesome. I'm super excited. I got a ton of you guys getting your work done. Please keep watching the videos. Please keep doing the work with me. Today we're moving right on to the next lesson. Hopefully yesterday wasn't too bad. Adding and subtracting like fractions. Some easy review there for you. Hopefully. Today we're going to be doing unlike fractions, which tends to be a little bit more difficult for some kids because there's a little nuance that we have to deal with now with unlike fractions. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you have questions, again, guys, you know what my office hours are. Swing in, ask me some questions. I can help you out. And anything else, shoot me an email if you need to, if that's a little bit easier. Let's do it. So the first one we're going to jump into today, the sheet I'm giving you, we are not going to be doing the last 6 problems because those involve negative numbers, and we haven't discussed how to perform operations on negative numbers yet. So we're just going to focus on the top 14 problems. And we're going to do a couple of these together. I'm going to leave a few for you to do on your own. Nice, quick, and easy. Good practice. I suggest you do all of them, but I'm going to leave a couple on the forms for you to do. All right, here we go. Number 1, 8/15 minus 1/5. And this is exactly how I would do all these problems. 8/15 and 1/5. Here's the issue with trying to subtract these two fractions. Let me give you a visual if I can. 8/15. If we were to visually represent that, we would have to show 15ths, right? Because we talked about this yesterday. The denominator is how big the pieces are. So if you take a whole object here, we split it into 15ths. I'm just going to try my best here. That should be 15, right? So if we split it into 15ths, so we're talking about 8/15ths, then that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8/15ths right there. Pretty simple. And a lot of kids love to do this visually because that's how you're first taught fractions. Here's the problem. When we go down and we try to add this to 1/5, it's going to look a little different because fifths are not the same size as 15ths. You can see that 15ths are little pieces. Fifths are not going to be so little. Fifths are much larger. And 1/5, for example, is that big. So what your job is now to do is to add these 8/15ths to this 1/5. And that's a really hard thing to do because they're different size pieces. So it's like, I need you to tell me how much that is in terms of 15ths and fifths. So you have 8/15ths and a fifth. So what is that? 8 of these and one of these, is that 9/15ths? What is that? You have to, in order to add fractions with different size pieces or different denominators, you have to make the denominators the same. You have to make the pieces the same size. And how do you do that? Well, you could go down here to the fifths and cut those pieces smaller, essentially. So for every 5 pieces, you can cut it into 3. And that would make this now 15ths, just like that one up there. And if you look closely, you've got 8/15ths up here, but down here, that 1/5 turns into 1, 2, 3 15ths. So then you can actually add these pieces together, 8/15ths and 3/15ths, to give you 11/15ths. Now that's how you would visually represent it, but that's not how you were taught to do it. Let me show you how you were taught to do it. What you would do is you would have 8/15ths and 1/5. You would change these two fractions, make them equivalent fractions with the same denominator. So what you would do is you would look at the denominator of both numbers, 15, and 5, and you'd have to find your LCM. If you remember what LCM is, then you get an air high five. Least common multiple. And least common multiple is skip counting. Remember, we talked about that a lot. You skip count by both of those numbers, and the first number that you say that both of them have, that's called the least common multiple. For example, if I skip count by 5s, I'm going to go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And I'm going to skip count by 15s. And the first number that they both have in common, that's the least common multiple. So let's start with 15s. 15, done. Right? Because 5 skip counts to 15. So that means that 15 is the least common multiple. I'm going to make sure that both of these fractions have a denominator of 15. Now, since the top one already has a denominator of 15, it doesn't need to change at all. It just stays 8/15. Now, the bottom one, since the denominator does change to 15, we have to do the same thing to the numerator to keep the fraction equivalent. 5 times 3 will give you 15, so we do the same thing to the numerator. And 1/5 is equivalent to 3/15, just like I showed you visually over here. And since we now have 8/15 and 3/15, just like yesterday, we can add these together now because they have the same size pieces. They have a common denominator. 8/15 plus 3/15 equals, just like we said earlier, 11/15. The answer to number 1. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a subtraction problem. Whoo! Good thing I caught that one and don't look like a total idiot. 8/15 minus 3/15 actually gives you guys, this is a subtraction problem. So this should be 5/15 because 8 minus 3 is 5 and 5/15. And just like we talked about yesterday, if you get an answer that can be simplified, you must simplify it. And 5/15 can be simplified because both 5 and 15 have the greatest common factor of 5. And that reduces down to 1/3. So your answer to number 1 is 1/3. Let's see if I don't totally screw up number 2. Okay, 5/6 plus 5/12. These have different denominators. So we're going to move down to here. 5/6 and 5/12. So these pieces aren't the same size. So we have to change the denominators. So it's blurry. We have to change the denominators to make sure they're the same so we can add these together. This camera's trying its best. So the least common multiple of 6 and 12, if we were to skip count by those two, would be 12. So 5/12 would stay the same. But in order to turn this denominator to 12, we had to multiply it by 2. So we'll do the same thing to the top up here, and we'll keep this fraction equivalent because 5/6 and 10/12 are the same amount. They're just written differently, so we can now answer the question better. This is an addition problem. This is 10/12 plus 5/12, and 10/12 plus 5/12 equals 15/12. And here we have an improper fraction. Hopefully you know by now that needs to be simplified. 15 divided by 12. The 12/12 is one whole. We know that, but we have 15 of them, so we have more than one whole. So there's one whole, and then we have 3 extra. So 1 and 3/12, which can again be simplified if you caught that. 3/12 can be simplified because each of those can be divided by 3, and you end up with 1 and 1/4 for your answer to number 2. 1 and 1/4. Here we go. We're going to try the next two. You're going to try them on your own real quick. Make sure you pause the video. So try number 3 and 4 on your own. Okay? Pause the video real quick. Do numbers 3 and 4. And then unpause the video. Check your work with mine. See if you got it right. Number 3. 3/5 minus 3/10. Need to change these denominators. The least common multiple between them is 10. So the bottom fraction stays the same, but this got multiplied by 2. So does this. 3/5 is equivalent to 6/10. And 6/10 minus 3/10 equals 3/10. The answer to number 3, 3/10. Number 4, 7/16 plus 3/8. 16 and 8 are obviously different sized pieces. Hey. So we're going to change these denominators to the least common multiple between those two, which is 16. The top fraction stays the same. The bottom fraction got multiplied by 2 here, so we'll do the same to the top, the numerator. And 3/8 and 6/16 are equivalent. But now because they are the same size pieces, 7/16 and 6/16 can be added together. 7 and 6 makes 13. You add those together, you get 13/16. And that can't be simplified. And that's your answer to number 4. So I'm going to leave you guys with a couple more. There are some challenging ones down here. For example, number 6 here, your denominators are 9 and 12. So this is one where you will have to find the LCM, and it's not going to be either one of those. I'll give you a little hint on number 6 here. I believe the least common multiple here, you wouldn't want to do 9 times 12, but it's 36. Because 9 times 4 is 36, and 12 times 3 is 36. So go ahead and finish up these problems. There's only this little bit right here, and I'm only going to put a couple up on Google Forms. That's it for today, guys. See ya.